Welcome back, everyone. As usual, we are two dudes talking 80s. I'm John. That's my partner in crime, Lewis.
Hello.
Did you do you? I just picture you laying at home trying to think of new moves to do with the hello intro. Is that the case, or is this just spontaneity and you go with it?
In front of a full-length mirror.
Okay, which is funny because we only see a little bit of you. So today we're going to talk about kind of one of those cult classic movies and a little bit of a hint. Not really a subtle
Dun-dun-dun.
hint, but a hint nonetheless. We're going to be talking about Better Off Dead. But before we get to this, I apologize. We didn't do anything last week. I had a crazy schedule. It's all on me. I'll own it. I actually went to Vegas, had an event in Vegas, and then flew back early Sunday. It was so funny. I left the hotel Sunday morning at 4 a.m. and
Wow.
I'm expecting it to be empty, and people were going nuts. They were still partying like crazy. I felt so old. I was like, people are still doing this? Um, yeah, flew back, got a couple hours of sleep, and then my son and I we went to WrestleMania. So, one of those boxes I wanted to check off in my lifetime. Yes, I went to a WrestleMania, so that was pretty cool. So I apologize. We're back this time, and I gotta bring this up because it bugged me so much. Nothing to do with anything I talked about. So one of my friends, we'll call her T, she started watching the shows, and she goes to me. She goes, "Oh, your buddy Lewis. He obviously does a lot more research than you." I'm like, "You gotta be kidding me! Like, have you? How? Oh my god!" So
Thank you, T. Thank you,
so,
T.
yeah, so now apparently you're the dude that does the research, which I'm like, oh my god, she watched like two episodes and now thinks you're the one that's really working hard on this. And I'm like, okay, so yeah, there's gonna be tons of trivia thrown out to you today because yeah, that would not sit well with me.
That's beautiful, man. That brings a tear to my eye.
All right. Well, hey, let's bring a tear to your eye. Let's do this. It's 10 a.m. when we're recording this, so we're incredibly sober. Um, we kind of veered off the path for a little bit. I want to go back on that path. We need to be back on that path. But anyway,
On the path we go.
we're going to talk about the 1985 classic Better Off Dead. And if you're watching this and you're like, wow, I've never seen that movie, just stop this, go watch it. It's on Amazon. You can rent it, you can buy it, and then come back and watch the rest of this episode because Better Off Dead is absolutely amazing. It's one of the first roles starring Mr. John Cusack, who was an 80s god. Directed and written by Savage Steve Holland. You don't see a lot of director credits with Savage Steve Holland in them. I think he's the only Savage. But what a great movie. I remember seeing this in the 80s and just being like, oh my God, this is insane. It was one of those really weird, off the wall movies. It's not going to appeal to anybody that doesn't have a great sense of humor and a warped sense of humor. Luckily, you got two guys right here that it fits that bill. That fit that bill. So, Lou, what was your? Did you remember seeing Better Off Dead in the '80s, or did you see it later in life?
I saw it later in life. I want to say that I saw it in the 90s, but I'd forgotten how good this movie is. I will go out on a limb and say maybe this is one of John Cusack's best works. It's got a lot of really funny scenes. I was going through and checking out some of the clips, doing my amazing research, and
I hate to
just
see.
watching stuff on YouTube because I hadn't seen it in a long time and I was trying to get myself reacquainted with the movie. And I just forgot about such amazing scenes, man. I mean, of course, there's the infamous $2 where the kids, like chasing Kuzak down everywhere. Even in the final scene where he's doing the downhill race on one ski, and the $2 kid shows up and he's all, "I want my $2." Just amazing, amazing, amazing flick. Yeah, I echo what you said earlier. If you haven't seen that before, go check it out.
Yeah. So apparently, Savage Steve Holland, who wrote and directed this movie, I think this was his first real movie. It says this is a very autobiographical movie. Easy for me to say. He actually did try to commit suicide. And what I read about it is, yes, I do my research. T. Um, is that he did it, and I think he tried to hang himself, if I remember correctly, and broke a pipe because the pipe wasn't enough to hold his weight. And his mom comes out and starts yelling at him about breaking the pipe, as opposed to, oh, geez, my son was trying to commit suicide. But yeah, he says it's very autobiographical. He did try to commit suicide. He lost his girlfriend to the captain of the ski team, and he had a paper boy that had that very name. He used that name for the paper boy based upon his own experience. I don't know that the paper boy chased him down, but he did have the paper boy with that name. So kind of crazy. I know it seems like a dark thing for a movie, right? This Better Off Dead, the guy's trying to commit suicide, but God, it's done very well, and it's so damn funny.
It is very funny. One of the scenes I was watching I guess it was like the movie trailer, and one of the scenes shows Cusack's character, Lane Meyer, sitting on the bridge, right? Getting ready to jump off the bridge. And his buddy comes up and he slaps him on the back, and then Kuzak goes flying off of the bridge into this dump truck, and and shows a couple of guys. It looked like they were maybe trash workers, and
They
it's
were.
a real shame when folks be throwing away a perfectly good white boy like that.
Amen. You don't throw away a perfectly good white boy, especially if it's John Cusack. The other, the
Classic,
other, the
classic.
other one that cracks me up is he's trying to hang himself in his garage, which I guess mirrors Savage Steve Holland's actual his attempt. And he's ready to do it. He's sitting there and he's like, what am I doing? This is wrong. And he starts to rethink it. And his mother throws open the door and knocks him off. And now he's actually hanging himself and he's struggling. And the mother's like, I think she was vacuuming or something. And he's struggling with it. But oh man, it's awful that we're laughing at these suicide attempts. But if you saw the movie, you would be too. So yeah, it's great. But let's talk about John Cusack. This was actually, I think, his second kind of starring role. His first one was The Sure Thing, which I love, and they both came out in 1985. What I did not know, because I do my research, is did you know who actually put him on the map for this movie? Oh,
Don't
look at that. Somebody didn't do their research. Hey, Henry Winkler, the Fawn.
really.
Yeah, Henry Winkler, the Fawn saw, I think it was a short film that Savage Steve Holland did, was preparing to do this movie. And Henry Winkler, I think, had something to do with The Sure Thing. I apologize, I don't know exactly what, but he recommended John Cusack for this movie to Savage Steve Holland. And Savage Steve Holland at that time only knew John Cusack as the nerd in 16 Candles and did not picture him as a leading man. But I guess he was able to see footage of The Sure Thing. And so he actually cast him based upon that performance and Henry Winkler's suggestion.
Wow, that's a trip, man. And movie history was made. Had no idea. Had no idea that the Fonz was involved in that. Good
Yeah,
research, John.
thank you. I do my research. But obviously, one of the things we have to talk about is John Cusack hates this movie. And I guess what happened is when they showed, now he was signed on, don't forget, a year or two later, they came out with One Crazy Summer, which was also done by Savage Steve Holland, kind of a similar tone, nowhere near as good as Better Off Dead. One Crazy Summer had Demi Moore as the love interest. I actually watched that the other day, and I like it, but man, it's no Better Off Dead. But he hated the movie, and they still had to film One Crazy Summer together. And I guess they were barely talking because John Cusack, he saw this movie, and he's like, this looks dumb, blah blah. I look stupid. This is an awful movie, and hated it. And can you imagine that you just made a movie with this guy, and now he got to make another one with him, and he can't stand you, and he thinks you destroyed his career.
That's rough, man. And little did he know that this was going to put him on the map. And like I said, I think this might be his best movie, in my opinion.
I wouldn't go that far. It's one of his best, definitely. But it's funny because if you when you watch the intro, one of the picture of me is with Diane Franklin, who played the French exchange student Monique in this picture. Oh my God, was she beautiful in that? But I was talking to her about it, and we were talking about Better Off Dead. She also was the love interest in a movie we talked about recently, which is The Last American Virgin. Um, Wonderful, wonderful woman. But I focused more on Better Off Dead when I spoke to her, and I was asking her about it, and she said, she's run into John Cusack at things, and he took a photo with her for her book, and she said if you ever see him interact with fans or whatever, he goes to these conventions, like he always wears sunglasses, which I don't know if what that's about, if that's maybe some he's not comfortable around his fan base, or whatever, I don't know. But she said that he did take the sunglasses off for a picture with her for her book that she did. And she said she told him, she says, you hate this movie, but we would not be here at all if it wasn't for that movie. And people still to this day come up and tell me all the time how much they love this movie, how much it means to them, and you wouldn't have a career without this movie. So I know she's tried to talk to him about it. I think he's, in recent years, he's softened his stance on it, but you know, come around, John. You need to embrace this fully. It's a great film.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. There's this one scene, well, there's many scenes in the movie that I think are great, but the one scene that sticks around with me is where he comes up in the station wagon at a stoplight, and the two Asian brothers pull up next to them, and one apparently never learned English, and the other one learned English from watching The Wide World of Sports, so he speaks Howard Cosell. And I was actually watching it, and they're wearing like the same gold jackets that ABC wore and everything. Oh my God, just amazing, amazing stuff in there. I really need to go and buy that one as well.
So, do you know who did that voice of Howard Cosell in the movie?
I don't, but I think you're going to tell me.
I'm gonna tell you. I do my research. Yeah, you can tell it's really stuck hard with me, didn't it? That was Rich Little.
Really?
Rich Little, yeah. Rich Little overdubbed the voices for them,
Wow.
and the actor who's doing the voices, or pretends to be doing the voices, is Yuji Akamoto. I hope I pronounced that right. Um, and he had his claim to fame is, of course, he was the villain in Karate Kid 2.
Nice.
Chosen. He was not. He was chosen. That's the name of the character, is Chosen. And of course, if you're a Karate Kid fanatic like I am, he obviously has a major role in the Cobra Kai TV series. So that was the first time you really saw Yuji Akamoto in a role. Sadly, they didn't, for whatever reason, they chose not to use his voice doing the impersonation. They went to Rich Little, but yeah, a little trivia there.
Wow. Wow. We're going to have to get T to insult you more often, man. You're really doing your homework.
Guns blazing, baby.
You know,
So
one thing that I'm sorry, go ahead, John.
no, I have to laugh is when I first started working in North Hollywood, I would run past this dilapidated business on Lankershim Boulevard. and it used to be a burger stand, and you can tell it hasn't been used in a long time. And I drove by it, I'm like, son of a bitch, that is the burger stand from Better Off Dead.
Wow.
And I haven't been by there in a little bit, but it's been gone for years, but the building still stands. So, the sad thing is it's all gated up and everything, so you don't have access to it. Because I would go and take photos, of me in front of the burger stand.
Right.
Um, and yeah, so I thought that was kind of cool. So I don't know if it's still there or not. It's been a little bit, but it lasted a lot of years. If it doesn't still exist and is standing today.
Very interesting, man. That's a bummer that you can't get to it. That would be really cool to be able to get close and take pictures of the inside and whatnot.
Yeah, I'm not going to get arrested for trespassing, but since we're mentioning the burger scene, and oh my gosh, I'm drawing a blank on the name of the place. Remember who his boss was?
I should know this because I just looked at that scene and I remember that the guy was familiar looking, but I can't say who it is.
It was Porky's.
Really?
Yes, that was the villain, and that was the guy that owned Porky's. He owned the burger place, um, where you had a special appearance by a burger that looked suspiciously or played like Eddie Van Halen. Of course, they everybody wants some was portrayed, and the claymation of the hamburger with Eddie Van Halen's Frankenstein guitar was one of my favorite scenes. It's like, okay, now we're doing claymation in this movie.
Absolutely iconic. And if we had an alcohol, we'd definitely drink to that one scene. Absolutely iconic. And yeah, it definitely touched my heart when I saw that as well. One thing that I noticed that I hadn't noticed before as I was desperately going through scenes doing my research was, and this may turn out well or may not because I can't remember the name of the actress and I was desperately looking for her. But the girl that was singing in the dance, she was actually the singer in the band. I'm pretty positive that she was one of the girls in Valley Girl, the one that actually um, cheated with Julie's boyfriend. I'm
E.G.
almost
Daily.
100%. I'm sorry?
I think you're 100% accurate on that. Her name is E.G. Daily. She's very famous now for doing voiceover work. And
Oh,
in my research, I think I remember seeing something about her making an appearance in Better Off Dead. So I think that's 100% accurate.
just blew me away. I'm all like, I know that face, but she's in the wrong movie. But yeah, a small part, but she was there.
Yeah. Speaking of which, I actually in a couple weeks I have tickets for a double bill at the New Beverly, and they're showing Valley Girl. I was there at the
Nice.
New Beverly this week. They showed The In-Laws, which with Alan or Adam Arkin, and Peter Falk. That came out in '79, so it doesn't count. And the second movie they showed was Fletch with Chevy Chase. But I had to laugh because when I went to the restroom, they had their calendar up on the wall, of the restroom, and it showed Valley Girl, and it's playing with a movie I've never seen. It came out in the '80s called Modern Girls. So I'm gonna be really curious to see what that's all about. It has Daphne Zuniga from The Sure Thing. It has Cynthia Gibb, who, oh my God, did I love her in the '80s, and I forgot who else was in it. Um, but yeah, they said Valley Girls 40th anniversary.
Wow. Wow. It's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
Scary.
Every time the new Bev has shown Valley Girl, they've had members of the cast. So far, they haven't announced it, so I'm hopeful. They're actually playing that double bill for 3 nights.
Oh man, that's gonna be
Friday,
awesome.
Saturday, and Sunday. I'm gonna go to the Friday showing, and I'm hoping some of the cast members are there. But yeah, 40 years. Wow. Anyway, how do we get off? Oh yeah, E.G. Daily. That was why, because she was in Valley Girl. Dun, 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 and I found it. So one of the things that in all the iconic scenes in this movie that kind of always gets forgotten about, and I really want to bring it up, is his brother. his brother, who was named Badger, that's what you Badger and Lane. I don't know what the heck the parents were thinking. Um, his brother never has a line, but his brother has some of the best scenes in the movie because he's always doing crazy stuff that you wouldn't imagine a kid his age would be doing. And my favorite is you see him reading a book, How to Pick Up Loose Women. And then later on in the movie, there's sure enough, Lane goes into Badger's room, and there's a lot of loose women in that. So apparently that book worked. And I'm disappointed because I found out that that book doesn't actually exist. Damn it! I would have bought it, but in the '80s or well, maybe not now. But so
I
yeah,
have to edit that part out.
huh?
I'll have to edit that part out.
No, my wife would never watch this in a million years anyway, so we're good. Yeah, so I got to talk about that because Badger, and then he did he make a rocket too later on?
I don't remember,
I
man.
remember. So Badger did some cool stuff, man. But of course, I was more enamored with him reading How to Pick Up Loose Women and it actually working.
That is funny, man. I actually saw that scene when I was doing my research this morning where, Cusack opens the door and there he is with all these, women in lingerie and whatnot. And
Yeah. Never would this movie get made in this day and age, but my God, in the '80s, we had a pair, and we could take the rough stuff and realize that this was comedy and it was funny. Speaking of comedy, by the way, guess who was sitting in the row in front of me at the New Beverly the other night?
who's that?
Mark Maron, the comedian. He's also in a
Uh-huh.
lot of movies and stuff, and you have no idea who he is.
I
But
don't.
he's actually really great. He's a really good comedian. Yeah, so I thought that was kind of funny. I'll just throw that out there. But
Very
yeah,
cool.
so How to Pick Up Loose Women, Lewis. My birthday's coming up. If they've ever made that now into a real book, please send it. That could be my gift.
Oh man. I'm a car guy, so I've got to call this out. What kind of car was sitting in Lane's driveway or Lane's parents' driveway that he was trying to get fixed up that his love interest actually helped him get fixed up?
Monique. It was a black '68 Camaro.
Oh, so close. 1967 Camaro RSSS. And
Was it
yeah,
running nitrous?
I don't know. You'd have to ask Monique because I think she did most of the work on it.
He did. What a woman.
But yeah, super cool car. I just wanted to call that one out. I'd forgotten that was in the movie until I looked at the clips this morning. But me being a car guy, I had to call that one out.
So, the final scene is, Monique and Lane sitting on the Camaro. I think Lane's playing the saxophone. Um, and it pans back, and they're actually at Dodger Stadium. And then you
Okay.
see the paper boy coming out. But I guess Diane Franklin actually thought it'd be kind of a cool tie-in and reached out to Dodger Stadium, said, "Hey, maybe would you be interested in having me there for a signing since we use Dodger Stadium and everything?" And so they invited her to actually sing the national anthem.
Wow.
Sang the national anthem before a Dodger game, but she had a laugh because she was expecting an introduction like, please welcome Diane Franklin from the movie Better Off Dead or something like that. They said, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Diane Franklin. She's like, nobody knows who I am. Nobody's going to get that reference. Like, put some context to it. But yeah, I guess she did sing the national anthem at Dodger Stadium.
I'll have to look for that. Can she sing?
I don't know.
Huh.
I don't know if video exists. That was in the '80s. I don't know if anybody recorded that from their non-existent cell phone back in the '80s,
Very true. Very
1985.
true.
So yeah, and I don't know if the Dodgers would record that stuff even. So I don't know if she could sing. I didn't know about that. I wish I had known about before I met her. I would have asked her. I guess she could sing. I mean, that's a hard song to sing. I mean, pretty much anybody that sings it, except for Roseanne Barr, actually can perform it. So, you know, I'm sure she did well. That's research, people. Let me point that out. That is research. That's in depth, okay? Not this guy. This guy. Research. So let me talk about, we're talking about iconic scenes. And what's the line that's best known for this movie?
I want my $2.
I want my $2, the paper boy. Did you ever have a paper route?
I didn't. I covered for friends of mine and I was horrible at it. I remember getting all kinds of notices saying, "You've missed my paper delivery for the third time," like underline, underline, underline. So I'm rambling. No, I've never had my own paper route, but I covered for friends.
I did it for a very brief time. I didn't mind doing the paper route. I hate you had to collect.
Hmm.
And oh my God, that was the worst thing in the world. Like you're a little kid and you're going to these places and they're like, oh, I don't have the money. Can you come back tomorrow at the same time? So now I come back the next day and they weren't home. And I can't tell you how many times I basically people got papers for free because I could never catch them to pay me. And it was such a frustrating thing. And then I used to do the Sunday papers, so I'd have to get up super early. You'd have all the papers before. I think you got them on Friday. But of course, for all the other stuff, those were thick papers on Sundays. And then you'd get the news section because obviously that had to be current. And you'd have to, go ahead and wrap them all up and then go out and deliver them. And that sucker was so heavy. You'd have it around all your papers, the Sunday papers, they'd be around, this bib that was in the front and back. And then, by the time you were finishing with the front, you were almost done. All the weight was in the back, so it's choking you, and you're like trying not to get choked out by your own papers. And oh, it sucked. It sucked so bad. Um, yeah, but I guess I should have put on a leather jacket and went by and demanded my $2. I think I got owed a lot more than that, but I probably was a paper boy around the same time. Yeah, 85 maybe not. Probably like 82, I think.
All right.
Yeah. So,
So you feel for him.
huh?
So you feel for the my $2 guy.
Oh, yeah, he was the hero in the movie. I know what he went through. It sucked. So, yeah. But that kid was great in that movie, and I guess he dressed like a thug to get the part, and it worked perfectly.
It is. That's absolutely that and the burger scene are probably the most memorable parts of the movie. It's those are the ones that actually stick with me a lot. And he did do a great job. Awesome, awesome.
Well, one of the other scenes that again people don't talk about, but I always used to die is when Monique came. I think it was over to Lane's mom with her experimental cooking and stuff like that. Apparently, Savage Steve Holland's mother was also the experimental cook. She'd make stuff from magazines and then forget, not put in ingredients because she didn't have it, and then blame the magazine for the food being awful. Like, yeah, you probably need to put in those, things to make it taste good. But when Monique comes over to Lane's house and Lane's mother was cooking for her, and she's French, so she's like, "Oh, I want you to feel at home. We have French fries and French dressing and French bread." And I was just like, "Oh my god!" I every time I saw that, and she's trying to be so nice about it, it was hysterical to me. So that's another one of my favorite scenes that never gets talked about, along with the loose women, that I thought was so fantastic in the movie.
Very cool. This is gonna have to be another movie that I buy on DVD, like the Last American Virgin, because this super super cool movie. Just so many great scenes that put smiles on your faces. So watch the movie.
Yeah. All right. Well, anything else you want to add? Sorry, we
Yeah,
didn't give any time to Ricky. Um, was it Ricky was from Head of the Class?
was
Dan
he?
Schneider. Yeah. And what was it? Beth didn't get any love. Amanda Weiss, who was in one of the was in the original Nightmare on Elm Street. That was who broke up with Lane. and then Charles Curtis Armstrong, Booger from Revenge of the Nerds. So there was
Yes,
a
yeah.
lot of iconic '80s people in this movie that went on, and his dad, David Ogden Stier, is from MASH.
And the teacher, he was that sort of odd guy that I think was the one that was in the morgue in oh my God, why am I having a brain fart in this movie? I love this movie. With Spicoli in it, and
Fast Times at Ridgemont High.
thank you, thank you. Yes, he was the teacher that was there in the morgue, and he was also the teacher in this movie.
Apparently, he liked to be the teacher, and I know. I think his name's Vincent Chiavelli. Oh my God, how I pulled that out of my, you know what? I'll never know. But yeah, I think that's his name. So he was kind of known as a teacher. So give them some love. Great movie. Just go watch it. If you're easily offended, don't go watch it. This will easily offend you, but it's great. Just real quick before we boogie out of here, did you ever see One Crazy Summer?
I don't think I ever did. I wasn't even aware of it until you brought it up.
If you go on Tubi, One Crazy Summer is on there. You could watch it for free. Savage Steve Holland, John Cusack, Demi Moore, Bobcat Goldthwait. It's nowhere near as good as Better Off Dead, but it does have some interesting chuckles, and it's definitely done in the same kind of vein. Instead of claymation, they have some animation with the fuzzy bunnies that you'll have to see. I won't spoil it, but you have to check that out. So go on Tubi, watch that, and I think that's about it, man. I think we've crushed Better Off Dead.
Indeed, indeed.
Nothing to add?
Nothing else, man. I'm
Nothing else?
extinguished.
Apparently, we need to do this more at 10 a.m. because we're a lot sharper than we are later on after a couple drinks. So we'll do that. As always, we appreciate you guys watching this. Why we will never know, but you do, and we thank you for that. Please, 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 if you haven't seen this movie, watch it. You will love it. If you're watching this, you obviously like stupidity, so this will be right up your alley. Give us a like, give us a subscribe, and T. I hope you realize that I'm the guy that does all the research on this show. Go back and watch some of the old episodes. Yes, it's still sticking with me. All right. Lou, take us out, my brother.
Peace out.
Thank you guys.